I'm convinced that nothing we do is more important than hiring and developing people. At the end of the day, you bet on people, not on strategies. This is very apt for today's guest, Mr. Ashish Sinha, Cluster Capability, Talent and Employee Engagement at VI. On that note, Dr. Nidhi Srivastava, Associate Professor, IIEBM, welcome you all to one more interesting session for the induction program batch 21-23. Before introducing the guest, let me just brief you about the flow of the session. This session will be of 1 hour 15 minutes, where first 1 hour will be knowledge sharing by the guest and rest 15 minutes will be question and answer. You can type your question in the chat box during the session. That will be addressed at the end. So let me introduce the guest for today's session, Mr. Ashish Sinha. And he will share his views on building resilience in times of chaos and uncertainty. Well, he started his career with NIS Sparta as Technical Effectiveness Consultant in April 1999, where his major responsibilities were conducting career classes for students of diplomas in communication and marketing, conducting corporate training programs for clients such as Mahindra and Mahindra, MICO, and Indian Railways. He then moved to IMS Learning Resources as product manager, where he was responsible for the overall execution of the CAT training program across the country. Mr. Sinha then changed his industry vertical and moved to insurance sector and worked with brands like Max New York Life Insurance, Tata AIG Life Insurance in the domain of training and development. He demonstrated success records in productivity enhancement of train distributors planning, scheduling, and getting implemented all training programs for the sales team. He then shifted to Idea Cellular Limited as vertical head sales, training and stepped ladders within the organization as vertical head mobile commerce, then zonal business manager, vertical head management development function, and continued to do so as GM cluster capability, talent, and employee engagement. Presently, he is the head of capability development and talent management in the business unit of Vodafone Idea. He collaborated with managers to identify and develop key career development initiatives to ensure a constant pipeline of talented and diverse applicants. Talent segmentation, potential assessment, and validation are some of his key responsibilities. So without taking much time, let us start this session. Over to you, Mr. Sinha.
Good morning, and thank you, Professor, and thanks for giving me an opportunity to address your students on this particular day. So it's really a privilege to addressing you all. And while I was thinking now, how do I go about what should I talk about? What is the key message which I would like to communicate? So I started thinking and went back my career days when I started my career, and I would like to start a story from my early career days, and I would like to share the story of two of my friends. Now, for the discussion's sake, I'm naming them, let's say, Pankaj and Vineet. So the three of us went to the same school and went to the same college, in fact. And Vineet and Pankaj had an opportunity to start their career in the same organization and in the same function and in the same geography. So Pankaj started his career from a place called Katihar, whereas Vineet started his career in a place called Bettiah. So just look at the scenario. Now, same school, same college, same educational background, same organization, same function, and the same geographic location. So they started on the same day. So everything remained the same for them, but as they moved up the career hierarchy in this particular organization, now we saw that we observed that maybe some 4 or 5 years down the line, so the career graph of Pankaj now started accelerating. So Vineet also kept track to some days in the same pace, but kind of he stagnated when he reached the stage of regional manager in this organization, and then he continued for 6-7 years in this particular role only, and then he drifted out. At the same time, now when I talk about Pankaj, so he soon became India head, then Asia Pacific head, and now he is the global head and based in United States of America. So some days back he was here now, and we were having a chat, and I just asked him now, Pankaj, now everything was same now between you and Vineet, and what was it that made Vineet kind of stagnate in the organization and ultimately move out, whereas you had accelerated and moved on to this particular position of a worldwide head. So Pankaj thought for a while and said, look, Ashish, if I talk about performance, most of us, both of us were performing at the same level, but the one thing which I feel made a difference between me and Vineet was the fact that there were certain obstacles which came our way, and I maybe in retrospect when I think about it, I was in a position to handle it better as compared to Vineet, and so these obstacles which we faced, somehow or the other, we couldn't handle that in a very effective manner, and as a result of this, his graph, the way in which we would like him to grow, didn't happen. That's very important, actually. This particular point of a person of this particular stature is very significant. If I quote a person, Einstein, he says, when I talk about capability of human beings, almost all are at the same level, not much of a differentiator between the two. But what you make out of that particular talent, how you handle the adversity, is something which is very important. And that's the context of my session, because now one example which I gave you is of a friend of mine, But when I look at like all the students over here on this particular webinar, now all of you are starting a new phase in life, a new trajectory in life, which I call. And this phase of life will be very different from what you have been used to. Till now, I would risk saying this, but still say that till now, up till college level, now life is more or less orderly, very systematic. There's a different dimension, but when you enter into the MBA college, which is like a stepping stone into the corporate world, now the whole thing undergoes a change. So if I go back to my college days, and if I remember now, what was the change? So the teaching methodology undergoes a change. The timeline undergoes a change, and I remember my professor now when he was giving us assignment in the MBA college. Now when we used to say when is the submission date, so he would have said, I would have believed that this would have been submitted as of day yesterday, and so lots of projects going on simultaneously, and huge work pressure, study pressure, case studies, assignments and projects. So now this takes a different sum game altogether. And as a result of this, now to survive and to cope up in the next 2 years of your MBA days, I think a dose of resilience is something which is the order of the day. So let me ask you this question now. Let me ask you this question even before I start. What do you mean by resilience? What do you understand by resilience? So to help you facilitate with this answer, we have a poll over here. So if you can click on the poll option, now you will see a question. And there are a few options built into it. So I'll read out the question for you. And the question says, what is resilience according to you? The first option is being stoic and adverse to feedback. This is option number 1. Option number 2 says ability to deflect your stress onto others. Now, third option says do not fold under pressure and bounce back. And the fourth one is to stick with a task no matter how tough. So let's see what you believe. What you believe is to be the correct answer. Okay. So interesting. 50% have voted for option number 4, and 25% with option number 3, 25% with option number 2, and option number 1. Now everyone is clear that option number 1 is not going to be the answer. Okay, so 3 and 4 are tied at 40% each. So option number 4 is 50%, option number 3 is 33%, Uh, Fair enough. So there's a tie now in option number 2 and 3, and option number 4 appears to be a clear favorite. I'll just wait for maybe 15 seconds more before we move forward. Okay, so it seems that everyone has voted. So let me talk about the options. Now everyone is clear. Now option number 1 cannot be the correct answer. Option number 2, when you say that something has come up to you, so you give your stress to somebody else. I don't think so. That will be a correct answer. So let me rule out option number 2. So there's a debate between option number 3 and 4. So what I'll do is I'll share with you an example which I feel is a very apt example of resilience. So let me share the story with you, and then you can maybe revise, if possible, your answer to the poll. So the story which I'm going to share is that of a person by the name of Marwan Atapatu. So you might have heard about him, a very famous Sri Lankan cricketer, and he was the captain of the Sri Lankan cricket team once upon a time. So let me talk about the time when he made his debut. So way back, 2 decades back, when he made his debut with lots of expectation, with lots of hopes. Now he made his expectation, and all his expectations were turned to dust because the first Test match in which he played, in the first inning he was out on a duck, and the second inning also he was out on a 0. So first inning 0, second inning 0. So at that time, the Sri Lankan cricket team had something which is known as plethora of talent. And as a result of this, the selectors were not willing to give him the second opportunity. And as a result of this, after his disastrous first Test match debut, he was dropped from the Sri Lankan cricket team. But again, this fellow was not disheartened actually. And he was not disheartened, and he went back to domestic cricket. He went to play cricket, county cricket, and made lots of centuries over there, and really slogged it out. And after close to 21 months, that is close to 2 years, he again got an opportunity to come back to the Test team. And this time, when he came back to the Test team, he again went into bat, and the result was same. In the first inning, he was out on a duck, and second inning, now he could barely open his account and scored 1 run. And after scoring 1 run, again he was out. So just imagine, first Test match 0-0, dropped for 21 months, and he comes back again. First inning 0, and the second inning he scores 1 run and out. So the selector again dropped him and said, not doing. So again, this fellow Marwan Atapatu is not disheartened, and he again goes back. He goes back and plays lots of cricket, and powers his back to the Test match again. But this time it takes him 17 months. So first time he was dropped, 21 months. Second time he was dropped, it took him 17 months to come back. So he came back again with lots of expectation and huge pressure. And he goes on to bat, and he is out on a duck again. And comes back to bat, and second inning also he is out on a duck. So this time the selectors say that we appreciate the fact that Marwan Atapatu is a very talented batsman. He's good as far as talent is concerned, but maybe he's not having that particular kind of a temperament to play at the highest level. And so say, no, kind of his this seals his future as far as an opening batsman is concerned. So he's dropped. He goes back again, starts playing, and struggles for 3 years. 3 years before he gets an opportunity. And after 3 years, when he comes back, now he scores a double century, and now, as people say, the rest is history. So when he ended his career, now Marwan Atapatu, so he would have scored close to 5,000 runs, and this 5,000 runs came with 16 centuries, and out of the 16 centuries, 6 were double centuries, and he was also the captain of the Sri Lankan cricket team for a brief period of time. So if you ask me now, what is the example of resilience? I would say Marwan Atapatu. So if you would have heard about the story of Marwan Atapatu, now my question is, Would you like to change your answer now? Option number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you can change your option and let me know which is the best option you feel is correct as far as the definition of resilience is concerned. So I see that the option number 3 has improved a bit now as compared to option number 4. Let's close this poll at this particular stage. The correct answer for resilience would be option number 3. Option number 3. And you will ask me why not option number 4? Because he's sticking to a task no matter how tough it is. So this is true for Marwan Atapatu. But again, option number 3 talks about the fact to not fold under pressure and bounce back. The moment you say bounce back, it implies that there would have been an occasion in your career, in your journey, where you would have faltered, where you would have failed. So option number 3 has this particular element where you talk about bounce back. And the moment you use the term bounce back, now we'll go with option number 3 as the correct answer. So this is resilience as per us, resilience as per all the management thinkers and psychologists as the definition of resilience. So if you look at the definition of resilience, now there are 2 ways in which you have tried to define. On the right-hand side is the pictorial representation that we see a fine spring over there. Now it's straight, and when the pressure comes onto it, now it bends up for a while and then bounce back. And we look at the definition of resilience, and now you see that it has an origin in engineering term. So it's a kind of energy a material can absorb and still return to its original state, and the ability to recover quickly and the ability to respond constructively to hardships. So the word constructively is very important over here, because the moment now people come under pressure, when you have lots of adversities which you face, now there's a chance that you might react adversely to it. So resilience would mean that you respond constructively to that. So I also wanted to give a background to the session. Now, why I picked up this session? I told you the story of my friend. I told you why in the students at this particular stage. Now it is important. And the third dimension is the aspect of change right now. Now, so if you look at what we have written now, learning to thrive during uncertainty and change. So some days back, I was reading a book, and I would refer to this particular book to highlight about uncertainty and change. So the American Army calls it a VUCA world. So I'm not talking about VUCA world per se. I'm talking about a different concept, which there's a person by the name of Alvin Tuffler. Now, Alvin Tuffler, he writes lots of books, and maybe you would have read about him this particular book. The book is known as Future Shock. So Alvin Tuffler is a futurologist, and but he's not the kind of futurologist with whom you go with a Janam Kundli and you show your palm and what will be the future. So what he says is he talks about a concept of the 800 lifetime. So if you ask me what is the 800 lifetime, so Alvin Toffler says that if I talk about mankind in the present format, now when I say present format, the form in which we are, he says the present format, man has been living on this planet for close to 50,000 years. And the average life expectancy for the past 50,000 years would have been close to 62 years. So if you divide 50,000 by 62, so the answer comes in as 800. So he says man would have lived on this planet for 800 times. And he says this is the 800th lifetime. And he says that when you look at the kind of pace and the way things are changing in the 800 lifetime, now we'll see that in the first 650 lifetimes, nothing happened actually. So we were food gatherers and hunters. We used to live in caves, and whatever we could find, we could eat. We moved ahead in groups. Now we saw an animal, we killed the animal, eat it, and moved on. So he says first 650 lifetimes, nothing happened. He says most of the things which has happened in the last 70 lifetimes. He says during the last 70 lifetimes, now we have developed the skill to communicate from one generation to the another. He says in the last 6 lifetime, now we could see a printed word, and in the last 4 lifetime, now we have been measuring time with greater accuracy. And the motors and all were discovered in the last 3 lifetimes. And he says, whatever we use, whatever we have been using in current life, in day-to-day life, as on day-to-day, has been discovered in this lifetime only. So the point which I wanted to make over here is the pace of change has increased. It has increased, and he says the pace is something like a man traveling on a boat on a storming night, and the pace of the boat has increased, and so is the direction. So you're not very sure in what direction change will lead you to. So it's like the acceleration is happening, and the direction is also not clear. So if this is the situation when the pace is increasing, the direction is not very clear. Now, one thing which will help you tide over the situations is something which is known as resilience. And that's the objective. That's with the objective that we have picked up this particular session for discussion today. So let me talk more about resilience. Why is resilience important? Now, on the slide, I have mentioned that resilient people can keep functioning both physically and psychologically. And I also have written that resilience helps us to survive. It also helps us to grow and develop. I would like to talk about something which is known as a Project Hope. So anyone who would have heard about, or maybe heard about something which is known as a Project Hope. So can you just indicate on the chat box if possible that if you are aware of something which is known as Project Hope? Anyone who has heard about it? Project Hope. Okay, let me tell you now what Project Hope is. So once upon a time, the scientists they did an experiment. And so what they took was they took a big jar and filled it with lots of water, and they decided that they'll do this experiment with rats. So you must be aware that whatever experiment which we do now initially would start with rats, because that's the one of the what we consider is the lowest form of life. So what they decided that they will put a rat in the water to see how long can the rat swim. So the rat has two options actually. So one option is that it keeps on swimming, and it will continue to live till the time it can swim. And the moment it decides not to swim, it will sink in the water and die. So the scientists, the researchers now put the rat in the water and they count the time. They measure the time as how long can the rat swim. So they observed that it was close to 15 minutes, and 15 minutes where the rat decided to stop swimming and get ready to die. So it starts sinking in the water. So the scientists, what they do is they take out the rat, put it on the dry table for 2 minutes, just 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, now they again put the rat back into the water. My question is, how long do you feel the rat would have been able to swim in the second go? I'll repeat the situation once again. So they take a rat and put into water to swim. The rat swam in the water for close to 15 minutes. And at the end of the 15 minutes, it was so tired, so exhausted that it stopped swimming and began to drown in the water. As it began sinking in the water, the researcher took out the rat and put it on the hard surface, allowed it to rest for 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, now again, they put the rat back into water. Now the question is, how long do you think in the second instance the rat would have been able to swim? Okay, so I just put in a question. How long in the second instance would the rat would have been able to swim? Any guess, anyone? Any guess you would like to make? Professor, I hope the students can respond to this particular question.
Yes, they can respond. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't see any answers till now, actually.
It takes a little time.
Okay.
They will respond. Yes, the response is coming now.
Riksha is saying 4 seconds. So as I wait for the answers to come in, I'll again repeat the situation. Okay, 4 second. Diksha is saying 4 second. So Diksha is the only one who's responding. So so the situation is, you put up a rat in water. It swims for 15 minutes. Abhijit says 15 minutes. You take it out, allow it to rest for 2 minutes, and put it into water again. Question was, in the second instance, how long can the rat swim again? So this is a live experiment which happened, and if you can Google, maybe after the session, if you Google Project Hope, you'll get all the videos of this particular experiment with lots of explanation for the same. So the correct answer is 60 hours. 60 hours. So just imagine, now, first instance, only 15 minutes, then rest for 2 minutes, and in the second instance, the rats could swim for 60 hours. And this is what resilience does to you, because now the second point, as we have mentioned, it helps us to survive. It also helps us to grow and develop. Because one of the most important aspect of this is, now how does it help? Now there are a few points which I have mentioned over here. Now first point is lower levels of depression. Obviously, now if I refer back to the example of Marwan Atapatu, now so many times he strived back to come back to the cricket team and again got dropped. And it was very easy for him to get into a depression that I've made my best bet, in fact, a huge effort, then I failed. So he could have even given up and got into depression, but he did not. And the very act he did not get into depression now helped him become resilient. People say that self-development as a result of adversity. Now, scientists have been very vocal of the fact that it's only in tough times that you develop yourself. Now, when situation turns difficult, now you discover a new shades of yourself, new nuances of yourself. You do not know what is your depth, and you'll see lots of case studies where it will tell you what gets visible is only 1/3. 2/3 is something which is not visible, and that only comes out when you feel something which is known as adversity. People say resilience helps you to harness your inner strength, that helps you rebound. And it is also said that resilience is a core competency for something which is known as stress management. So these were the benefits. So what I would like to do now is, now I'll share with you some stories of few people who have in fact now I would say, when it comes to resilience, now I would say are icons, in fact, role models. So I'll show you some pictures, and if you have heard about any one of them, now there are 3 persons now on your screen. So one is Viktor Frankl, the other one is Deepa Malik, and the third person goes by the name of Dadarao Bhilhore. So if you have heard about this person, just type in the name of the person on the chat box, so I would know that you have heard about that particular person. Or alternatively, I'll explain 1 and 2, and then help you out with some examples, some nuances of that particular person, and which will help us understand what resilience is. So 3 personalities in front of you: Viktor Frankl, Deepa Malik, and Dadarao Bhilhore. So if you would have heard about any one of them, just type in your response. Okay, I hear Deepa Malik. I see Deepa Malik. Someone has heard about Deepa Malik. Any other person, Dadarao Bhilhore or Viktor Frankl? Anyone? Deepa Malik again. Mohit says Deepa Malik. Ganesh also said Deepa Malik. Okay, so Deepa Malik appears to be 4 of us have heard about Deepa Malik. So let me talk about Viktor Frankl first. So let me introduce you to this person who is known as Viktor Frankl. So Viktor Frankl lived in a time of Second World War in Germany. Diksha, to say that Deepa Malik is an athlete would be incomplete. I'll come to her story in a while. So let me first introduce Viktor Frankl to you. So Viktor Frankl lived in Germany during the time of the Second World War, and he was a Jew actually. And And you would be aware that in Germany, during the course of the Second World War, the Jews were persecuted a lot. In fact, because Hitler had a philosophy that something related to the Jews, he had some feelings about Jews. He believed that Jews were a reason for many of the ills of the society. So what had happened was that Jews were put up in concentration camps in places like Auschwitz and Krakow, and they were put under lots of hardship. So when the Second World War started, Viktor Frankl was just married at that particular moment of time, and his wife was also expecting. So one of the rules in Nazi Germany was that the Jews cannot conceive and have a baby. They were forced to abort. And Viktor Frankl, along with his family member, were put up in a concentration camp. So his mother was there. His brother was also there. His father was also there, and he saw most of his family members dying in the concentration camp, one after the another. So one of the first person to die was his father, who died because of starvation and pneumonia. So the Jews were not given adequate clothes to wear in the harsh winters there, and they were not given adequate food. So he could get a pneumonia, and because of starvation he died. His other siblings also died because of some experiments or the other. But some or the other, he could. Viktor Frankl could survive the concentration camp. So he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And in one of the anecdotes in the story, he says that day in, day out, he was beaten up by the German soldiers. He was tied up all through the night, was not given clothes to wear, and they were given electric shock. And one of the favorite way of torture for the German soldiers was that they used to ask all the Jews to strip and ask them to lie down on the floor, and the German soldiers would come in and urinate about them, and then electricity would be passed through that. So when people ask Viktor Frankl that how could you survive, so he said that look, there's always a choice, and he says when I talk about life, there's something which is known as area of concern, and this is known as area of control. So area of concern is that I'm imprisoned in this particular jail, but I also know the fact that I can't do about that. So this is a big area of concern for me. But the area of control is I maintain my mental sanity. He says that one thing which always helped him keep himself motivated and endure the hardship of jail was his goal, his aim, his dream in life, that he would be back in his college where he would like to go back to his students and teach. He also had this fond love for his wife. He dreamt that one day he will be out of the jail and would be united with his wife. So this is something which kept him motivated. So he said, area of concern, area of control. So you can beat me, you can torture me. I can't do a thing about that. But to maintain my mental sanity and maintain my objective in life is something, it is in my area of control, and which I will do. So this is something which was remarkable about this particular person, Viktor Frankl. So if you look at his story, the way he has demonstrated lots of resolve, lots of resilience in life. So some learnings from it. I'll come to the learning part from him, but this was an essence, a brief story about this particular person, Viktor Frankl. Deepa Malik, now many of you said, is an athlete, but there's more to this particular lady actually. And I happened to hear her live in one of the sessions in my organization. So we have something which is known as a Gyanodaya Virtual Academy, Gyanodaya campus now in Aditya Birla Group. So wherein lots of people come in, external speaker come in, and they address the employee. So once I was hearing her, and she shares her story something like this. So she was born with her deformity. She had some problem in her spine, and as a result of this, now she had to be operated upon when she was as young as 3 or 4 years old. And after 3-4 years, now when the operation happened, she was paralyzed actually. At a very young age, she was paralyzed. She couldn't even walk actually. And she was put up in braces, and where the braces used to cut into her skin, And that's how she grew up and somehow could manage to stand up and walk. Life seemed to be going fair, and she did complete her education and got married to an army man, and she had 2 kids as well. So she mentions that her this was during when Kargil happened. So when her husband was based at Kargil, she goes to for a routine medical checkup, and in the medical checkup, it is found that the tumors, as she uses the word, have come back with a vengeance. In fact, vengeance, and it has spread so much that it had to be operated upon. So the doctor gave her 2 options only. They say that there are 2 eventualities. One is that if I operate upon you, you are going to be paralyzed for life. This is possibility number 2, and the possibility number 2 is now you will not survive the operation. And so there's only 2 possibility, no third possibility for you. So she says that, okay, fair enough. So if you say that these are the only 2 possibilities, and as on day today, I can walk on my 2 legs. So give me 7 days, and after 7 days, I will come back and get myself operated upon. And she says that she did all different kind of things which she always wanted to do in the 7 days, and then comes back to the hospital after 7 days. And she says, I refuse to be taken to the operation theater on a wheelchair or a stretcher. So I walk with a smile to the operation theater, and she gets operated upon, and she survives the operation, but is paralyzed now. And then comes her second struggle now, where she became an athlete, where she became a swimmer. She participated in rally. She participated in shot put. She started a restaurant and did everything and which is possible for her. So that's the second story. Now that's the story of Deepa Malik. Now, whenever you give a challenge, now you strike back. Now she one thing which is there in her story is her ability to find out your unique strength actually. So there was a story which she shared, which she talked about the fact that on her wheelchair she wrote down, it's not a wheelchair, it's a wheelchair, WILL chair. So something to learn about this particular lady. And the third person is a commoner from Mumbai by the name of Dadarao Bilore. So I use the word commoner because in our life, we always used to say a person selling vegetables was the background of Dadarao Bilore. So very ordinary man selling vegetables to make the 2 ends meet. So his son dies in an accident because his bike fell into a pothole. So he died. So he said, I had 2 options. Either I sit back and grieve my son, or the other is I take up a mission that I will fill up all the potholes in Mumbai so that nobody loses another son. In fact. And this was the mission in his life. And with this, he starts. And he says every filled pothole is like saving a son for everyone. So much to learn about this particular person, but I will not go into detail from these about the story of Dadarao Bilore. So what I will try to do is now, based upon the stories of these person and about what thinkers believe, I'll try to draw an analogy, a summary about what does resilience mean in fact. So if we talk about people now, some examples I talked about Dadarao Bilore, I talked about Deepa Malik, I talked about Viktor Frankl, if I talked about Marwan Atapatu. So if you look at them and do a brief analysis, so you would see that all those people who are resilient or who have a high resilient quotient, now they connect to purpose and meaning in life. They have a goal in life. So this is the first thing which you do. Now connect to purpose and meaning in life. And in fact, I'm sure you would have heard about the Japanese concept of ikigai over here. Now, and ikigai is a study which talks about how a particular people in a particular island in Japan have a high lifespan. So they follow the policy, the principle of ikigai, which is meaning the connecting to purpose and meaning in life. And I believe this is very important because research tells us that 70% of people who have goals in life, purpose and meaning in life, have a longer longevity and they live life to the fullest. The second dimension of a resilient person is the ability, is the acknowledgement of the fact that I understand what is my unique strength actually. So in other words, now you say a core competence or unique selling proposition. So I'm aware about my unique selling proposition, and as a result of this, I'm resilient. The third dimension is you maintain perspective. So things may go haywire, things may go topsy-turvy in life, but again, if you are in a position to maintain your focus, is something which is maintain perspective. Be realistically optimistic. Now, I'm not saying that whatever happens, now you be optimistic and say, this happens, this will get done. So be realistically optimistic about the same and persevere by being open-minded and flexible. And the last dimension is reach out to others. So if you have these 7 aspects, now if you say, no, fair enough. Now you were talking about resilience. Now, for the last 45 minutes, I've been talking about resilience. But if I have to develop upon my resilience quotient, what do I need to do? So these are the few things which you need to do. Now, connect to purpose and meaning life, use of unique strength, maintain perspective, realistically optimistic, persevere, and reach out to others. So these are broad-based, and these 7, these attributes are like a water in a tub. So, a tub having 6 compartments. Even if you fill water in one of the compartments, the water level rises. So among the various parameters which I have mentioned, even if you could work upon any one, now that will help you build upon your resilience quotient. People say that fair enough. So this is long-term perspective. What happens if I'm into a crisis-like situation? What happens in a crisis-like situation? Now what happens? So people have suggested, now if you have to make up a cope-up strategy, now you have to identify 4 different dimensions. For example, this is known as a 4S plan. The first is the support system. Now, whenever you look at it, now whenever in a crisis-like situation, now there should always be a group of person whom you can always fall back upon. Now a challenge has come in my life, so this is the person I can go back to. So this is my parents, my siblings, my friends, my students, my teacher, now my mentors. Now who are those people now who can be a support system for you? So have a clarity as far as who's going to support you. The second S talks about the strategies now through which you can cope up with negative feelings, and so whenever facing through a situation, a tough situation, now the mental balance now is some of the equilibrium gets defeated. So how do you do that? How do you maintain your sanity is something which is very important. Now some of you might say that reading a book is something which motivates me. Someone say I go for a drive, I listen to music, I read a book. Or some people like me, I would say that detach yourself and go for a sleep. So if I sleep for 1 hour and come back after sleep, now many of the stress factors which is there in my life goes away. There is something which is known as sagacity. Now the wisdom which helps you bounce back in life. Some inspiration. So I'll give you an example. So whenever I think of let's say I'll give an example of a situation where I faced when a few years back when I was a zonal business head. So due to some challenges, some changes in the geography, so from being a topper in my cluster, I became a bottom ranker in that particular cluster. So from rank 1, I became rank 14. So the one thing which always gave me motivation was agreed to the fact that I'm rank 14th now. But again, my volume is such that I'm bigger than all the number ones of the world. So in Hindi, there used to be a kahawat which says, "Mara hua hathi bhi sawa crore ka hota hai." So the volume which I was generating, the revenue which I was generating was greater than all the toppers of my cluster. So that gave me lots of motivation, a sense of perspective, and which helped me bounce back in life. And the last dimension over here is seeking solution. So seeking support is good, Putting up a strategy to maintain your emotional balance is good. Maintain motivation is important, but what you need to do is figure out what is it that you need to do in order to bounce back. For example, I may not be doing well in studies. I might be slightly put off over there. So it's good that I have a support system. It's good that I can maintain equilibrium. It's good that I maintain motivation. But the fact remains, if you want to improve upon your ranks, you need to study. So that's the last point: seeking solution. So this is something which I wanted to talk about. And the last thing which I would like to talk about is something which is known as a 72-hour plan. A 72-hour plan. So what happens is this. Now, when you attend a seminar like this, you attend a training program like this, you read a book and you get inspired out of it. But many times it so happens that nothing comes out of it. So many times I too have attended lots of seminars, lots of workshops, lots of training program, and nothing came out of it. And then one day I would remember that once upon a time I had read something about this. I was motivated on that particular day, but nothing happened. So here comes the catch: the 72-hour plan. So the rule of 72 says that anything which you have learned today, you are not going to implement it in the next 72 hours. No, nothing will come out of it, because as day passes, the impact of that particular session, the learning of the session now has a diminishing return. So it keeps on. And one day it happens now that you will say, okay, that one day I had attended a session like this, a workshop like this. On that day, it looked fun, but nothing came out of it. So I'm going to suggest something in the next slide, what you can possibly do in order to improve upon your resilience. And I have named it as the 21-day challenge. So I'll explain the 4 points. What I'm trying to say is put yourself in a challenging situation and learn something new. So resilience only develops when you are out of your area of comfort and put yourself in an area of challenge. So for example, now for half an hour a day, maybe what you can do is, if I'm a right-hander, if I'm writing for half an hour, I decide to write with my left hand. Let's say I can run for 20 minutes, but I decide that, let's say I'll run for 30 minutes. Maybe at this particular stage you would say, okay, I don't know German, so I would like to learn German, or maybe Spanish. I would learn to swim, or maybe learn to play a musical instrument. Anything which puts you out of your comfort area is something which is very important and which should be done actually. So this is the first thing. Put yourself in a challenging situation and learn something new. The second is manage your internal language and attitude. Now, this is the most important thing as per me. I'll draw your attention to one of the most famous boxers of all time, Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali. So you might have heard about him. So whenever he used to go to fight, he used to say, "I'm the greatest, I'm the best." And whenever the journalists used to ask him, who's going to win the match today, he says, "I'm going to win, I'm the greatest. And I'm going to knock this particular fellow in the first round in itself." And when he used to go to the ring for the match, he would sing a song which he had created. I sting like a bee and move like a butterfly. I sting like a bee and move like a butterfly. I'm going to knock you out in 15 seconds flat. And he always used to do that. In fact. And one of the last matches in which he played, so some of the other, his confidence was shaken. And when the journalist asked him who's going to win today, he says, many people have come out to watch me fight today, and I think they'll be very happy if I win the match today. So his internal communication, what he was telling himself was something which had given him away, and that was the match he lost. So the important thing is now, friends, what do you tell yourself? What do you speak to yourself? What you tell yourself, what you speak to yourself is something which is one of the most important thing which goes for resilience. The third dimension which I would like you to think about is manage your energy. Now, energy is something which is of prime importance, and we believe that Do anything which gives you energy. Now let's say hanging out with friends, reading a book, listening to music, going for a drive, eating, or maybe sleeping. Now anything which gives you energy, now do that. So it's very important that we feel very energetic, and you can plan things accordingly. And the last dimension is ask and get comfortable with rejection. Pick up such tasks. Pick up tasks where the chances of failure are high, because only when you fail now is you learn. And when you fail, you learn, you get uncomfortable with the situation, you have that particular burning sensation, and then you can bounce back again. Because if you don't get comfortable with rejection, now you will not improve and gain in resilience. So this is what I wanted to speak to you on this particular day on resilience. So, ma'am, that's all I had to speak upon, and I think I'm well within my time, which was allocated to me. I would be more than happy to take questions from any of the students. Now, any questions, if at all?
Yes, sir. First of all, I would like to thank you for such a wonderful session, such amazing and inspiring stories. We generally, when we have someone from HR background, they talk about, technicalities and employabilities and all of these things. But today it was such a wonderful session, having, listened to you, and students have learned one new word. I hope they have registered it well in their dictionaries. Resilience. So yes, I do have a couple of questions. If you permit, I may ask them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the first question for you is, what was your biggest failure and how did you dealt with it?
Okay. So let me explain. Let me share with you. So this was year 2015, close to 6 years back. Okay. So I had applied for a job at that particular moment of time, and I got selected. In that particular job. But as you understand, in most of the job, when you go for the job interview and as a part of the selection process, they have a medical test over there to see whether you are physically fit or not. So I was rejected in the medical test at that particular moment of time, and the reason why I was rejected over there was that I was close to 100 kgs at that moment of time, and my sugar level was very high, BP was very high, and other parameters were also very bad at that particular moment of time. So that was one black day for me. So that day, so it was not that I was not aware about my health conditions, but somehow or the other I had ignored, and now as you get involved in work, somehow or the other that was important but not urgent. And as a result of this, I did not put much of a focus over there. So that was one day where I realized that if I don't take action right now, then things would turn bad. So that was one day, ma'am. And so when I was 100, so today I started working upon it. So I'm 81 right now. 81, from 100 to 81. The journey has been reduced 19 kg, and I would have been able to, in fact. So if I explain now, at that time I remember my monthly medicine cost used to be close to 12,000 rupees, and now I'm spending close to 1,400 rupees at best now for medical. So my fight back from being terminally ill at that particular situation where the organizations were not willing to take me, and as on day today when I'm ready to run a marathon, half marathon actually. So this got delayed because of the COVID. Otherwise, I would have run the half marathon. So at that time, from where I could not walk for a kilometer now without getting body cramps, to a stage when I'm thinking of running a half marathon, because running is a different thing. But again, coming to a stage where you can think, yes, I would be in a position to, is a big turnaround story for me. And in fact, I gave a personal example over here. I could have given a professional example as well. But the point which I wanted to make over here is, since I could manage my personal transformation in such a way, that my professional career has also taken off because I'm more energetic now, I'm more healthy right now, I'm willing to take that much more responsibility.
Right, right. Right. So the next question is, sometimes you are just unable to put behind the setback.
Yeah.
Like you have explained that you should detach yourself and you should just do something in which you are interested in.
Yeah.
But sometimes, the failure or the setback is so huge that you are just unable to detach yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So what one should do in that case?
Okay. So I'll again share a story now. If story, and this is a
We
story.
love your stories, sir. We
There's
are
a
in love with your stories.
there's a book by the name of Goal. There's a book by the name of Goal, written by a person called Eliyahu Goldratt. So I'll just take 3 minutes to explain the story of this book, and I think that will put things in perspective. So the hero of this particular story goes by the name of Alex Rogo. So he has passed out of his. He's a management graduate, and he's working as a manager in one of the manufacturing unit. And he's a very self-motivated person, very motivated person. And he says that when he talks about work-life balance, he says, I need to put focus upon work because if work is taken care of, life also takes care of. So he read Jack Welch, where Jack Welch says that a leader is a person who switches on the light in the morning and switches off the light in the evening. He meant leadership by example. So he leads by example. He's always first in the office and last to leave office. He has lots of policies going in the plant, which is good for employee, and he feels he's doing a good job, and he will be given a good responsibility and a good increment now in the appraisal cycle. So when the appraisal happens, now what happens is this. Now he's given a rating that you need improvement. And if you do not turn around, you will be, in corporates, we have a system called Personal Improvement Plan, PIP. So if you don't perform well, you're put in a PIP for 3 months. Improve your performance or either you're sacked. So I was put in PIP, this particular person. So he is shocked because he was expecting something good to happen and a different thing has happened. So he keeps on talking to his friends that the company is not good, company is bad, this and that, keeps on bad-mouthing the organization. So one day he meets his friend Jonah and again says, now I did this for the organization, did that organization. So Jonah asked him a few questions. Now question is, was the company started so that you can be the first in the morning and last to leave office? He says no. He asked him lots of questions. The answer is no. So why was the company started? So he thinks for a while and says the company was started because this was the goal of the organization. So what I want to tell is, by this particular story is, now setbacks can be devastating. Setbacks can be derailing. But one thing which will always help you tide over the setback is the goal you have. Recently, now there was a story in the Times of India. There was a girl from Bhopal. Now, if you might remember, if you would have read the story. So her board examinations were scheduled, and in the month of April, on 9th of April, her mother passed away. Some days back, her father also passed away because of COVID. But her father had scribbled a note that's something good about this particular girl, and I would like you to shine. I believe you are something like this, and I think nothing greater tragedy like this for a 10 class student. But again, this motivation of her, the belief of her father made her do very well. And she was a topper from Bhopal, I guess. So it's your goal actually, it's the objective in life. This is the purpose of life. Viktor Frankl also said that everyone is dying just in and around him in the concentration camp. But the one thing which helped him was his purpose in life. So have your purpose very clear. And as we say, the goals should be smart in nature. And when you have smart goals, now things become that much more better for you.
Okay, so now moving to the HR perspective.
Yeah.
Do you think that resilience is an important skill set from employment perspective?
Yes, it is. It is.
So how this can be assessed during the recruitment process?
So when you go to organizations for recruitment, now there are certain tests. Now apart from the interview, now almost all organizations of repute would have some or the other psychometric tools to assess that. And when you go for the interview now, no, I'm sure now now in your college now you would have systems like this. But again, now you understand that interviews can be led two ways. In fact, either you lead the interview or the interviewer leads you.
Correct,
So
correct.
if the interviewer leads you, now you are for a rough ride actually. And if you lead the interview by giving lots of open-ended answer and leading him towards the what you
Right,
want to tell him, so
correct.
leading him towards the story which you have in life,
Hmm, hmm.
things that would be. In fact, I think interview is like a canvas, matlab white canvas, and you can paint it according to your preparation actually. And this is the best, in fact, the way you prepare for interview, you can lead him towards that. And organizations have tools like Thomas Assessment is one of the most popular tools, which help us understand your how do you react to pressure, how what is your work mass kind of thing
Hmm.
when in a business scenario.
Right. So, how the freshers, so these are the PGDM
Yeah.
students, so how the freshers of PGDM students can demonstrate their resilience in the recruitment process?
So
Because if you have experience, of different organization, then still it is easier. But when you are fresh, then how the canvas to be painted, sir?
see, uh, I feel that I'll talk about the present scenario today. So we always have openings, but we don't get good people for that.
Hmm.
There are lots of mother. Now, when people say that unemployment is there, we have a contrary view. In fact, so there is no unemployment scenario in the private sector. There are huge opportunities for employment, provided you are in a position to tell your story. Tell your story, and tell your stories. What you can do is now it's a Me Too world actually. Now, if I talk about PGDM students now coming out of the MBA colleges, now every year I don't know what's the current situation right now, but every year X number of students would be coming out of MBA colleges in the job market. So you have to create a differentiator for yourself as far as yourself is concerned, and USP how you create is entirely upon you. The kind of projects which you do, the kind of value addition which you do, as far as let's say projects you do, the kind of self development things which you can do. I'll tell you an example, ma'am. So a few days back, we had a fresher, in fact. Now, so the fresher I remember was from Amity School, Delhi. So there's a school in Amity. So we're interviewing. So we have a concept of circle management training. So where we have a quota, and we said this is the number of freshers we are going to recruit every year. So he I won't name him, but he studies in Delhi. He's from Jaipur. So the interview was that. So where do you stay? So he says I live in a I have taken a rented premise and I eat over there. So and I stay over there. So it's just a matter of curiosity. How do you manage your food? He says I eat in McDonald's. I eat in McDonald's. So and from McDonald's, now when the interview, in fact, turned towards McDonald's fast food and somehow towards McDonald's as an organization. So he was in a position to tell us the business model of McDonald's and the competitive strategy of McDonald's vis-a-vis the other competitors of that particular segment. The point which I wanted to make sure is identify your core competence, one thing which is your strength, and try to capitalize upon that. So everyone will know, now the theories of HR, the theories of marketing, the theories of finance and all. But what is your USP? What is your USP? One USP which you are in a position to showcase and tell to the
Correct.
that will help actually. We are not we are not buying packages. We are buying individuals when we recruit. And let's say if I'm interviewing 20 in a day, something which strikes me different about that particular person, the way he talks, the way he talks with conviction, the things which he has done. So that if he's in a position to do that, now he's through actually. In fact.
One last question.
Yeah.
So a student has asked that is it good to have a plan B? Because if you have plan B, then you don't perform to your 100% capability in plan A. So
I would like to answer it differently. Just slipping my mind, there's a lady who is at Facebook. I'm forgetting the name. One of the CEOs at Facebook.
Okay.
So I'm just slipping my mind now. No. So she's considered one of the most resilient ladies worldwide. Resilient ladies worldwide. And she talks about her autobiography, talks about the way she came out, handled family, and made her mark in the corporate world. Her autobiography goes by the name of Plan B. Her autobiography says Plan B.
Interesting.
One of the points which I made while talking about resilience is now you have to be flexible and you have to be working with an open mind. If you're idly fixed that this is the only thing which is going to work, now it's not going to work actually. Now you have to explore options. So the name of her book is Plan B. I'm just slipping. It has just slipped my mind the name of this lady, but you can check it out. So it talks about you need to have a plan B actually.
Right. All right, sir. Any last message for the students?
Best wishes. Things are changing in the corporate world, and this pandemic has led to the creation. In fact, has brought the digital quotient very fast towards us. And the oldies like us are not that agile as far as digital quotient are concerned. And there's something which is known as reverse mentoring, which you are looking at too. Say in our corporates, there's a concept called reverse mentoring, wherein the youngsters who are coming from these schools are appointed as mentors for CEOs and the heads, so that they can guide them towards social media marketing, being digitally savvy. So huge opportunity actually. Learn like anything, in fact. Learn like anything, explore like anything, experiment like anything. And you have a huge opportunity because there's a big talent deficit at the organization level.
Right.
That's
Thank
all.
you so much, sir. Thank you for the wonderful session. And we hope that students have learned a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.